Adrian wasn't looking for love. He was looking for peaches. Sweet, ripe, golden peaches at the market, the kind that glistened with morning dew and promised to make life slightly less miserable. But fate, or perhaps a bored author, decided to intervene. As Adrian reached for the last peach in the basket, another hand touched his. A delicate hand, soft and trembling, her fingers brushing his as if the universe itself had subscribed to a cliché romance novel. Adrian froze. She froze. The peach did not freeze, and promptly rolled to the ground. Their eyes met. Time slowed. Somewhere, impossibly, petals drifted through the air. The wind blew dramatically, ruffling Adrian's hair, and even though it was humid and windless. "Oh no," the woman gasped. Her eyes sparkled like a badly written romance heroine's. "Our hands touched. Does this mean destiny?" Adrian sighed so hard the peach nearly rolled back toward him. "No. It means we both want peaches." But she was not deterred. "Sir, I believe our souls just collided." Adrian wanted to explain that his soul was busy, that it had a day job, bills to pay, and no intention of colliding with anyone. But before he could, the market crowd began to whisper. "Look. A destined couple. By the fruit stand. How romantic. Quick, someone cue the violin player." And as if summoned, a man with a violin appeared out of nowhere, playing the most over-the-top dramatic love song Adrian had ever heard. Her name, he later learned against his will, was Vanessa. And from that moment, she became utterly convinced their souls were intertwined. Adrian, however, was convinced he needed to buy peaches in bulk just to avoid this happening again. Adrian considered running. He considered pretending he was mute all of a sudden. He even considered dropping dead and sacrificing his fruits to the gods of bad romance. Adrian soon discovered that where peaches went, Vanessa followed. Or perhaps it was simply where he went. Because no matter what he did, she appeared. At the well. She accidentally dropped her bucket right next to his, then sighed, "How symbolic. We both thirst for the same things in life." Adrian nearly dropped his bucket on his own head. At the bakery. She grabbed the last loaf of bread, held it to her chest like a newborn child, and whispered, "Another sign." Adrian muttered, "The only sign I see is you robbing me of breakfast." At the fruit market again. She bought every single peach, stacked them in her arms like a fortress, and then sat nearby peeling one slowly, making dramatic eye contact with him after every slice. Adrian thought about reporting her to the local guard for peach hoarding. The townsfolk, of course, loved it. They gathered in small groups, whispering loudly enough for Adrian to hear. "They're destined. A true romance is blossoming. Quick, fetch the violin player." And as if cursed, the same violin player appeared from the shadows, bow poised, ready to serenade them at the worst possible moment. Adrian was starting to wonder if the man even had a house or if he just lived in the market, waiting to play love songs. Adrian pinched the bridge of his nose. "I just want peaches. Not fate. Definitely not you." But Vanessa only smiled knowingly, tilting her head as though she could hear the narrator of the story whispering in her ear. To her, Adrian's resistance wasn't rejection, it was just fate, playing hard to get. Adrian knew then that life had taken a cruel turn. One afternoon, Adrian carried a small basket of strawberries through the market. He'd waited all week for them to ripen, the bright red kind that tasted like spring and made life slightly more bearable. But before he could escape home, Vanessa intercepted him beneath a flowering tree. She positioned herself in the exact spot where sunlight broke through the branches, petals drifting down like stage props. "This is it," she announced, her eyes glimmering. "The moment where you finally admit we belong together." Adrian blinked. "I'm holding strawberries." "Yes," she cried. "Symbolic strawberries. They represent passion, sweetness, and the fruit of our destiny." Adrian nearly dropped the basket. "They represent breakfast." Vanessa ignored him. With great flourish, she plucked a strawberry from his basket without asking, bit into it dramatically, and gasped. "So sweet, just like our love will be." Adrian glared. "That was the biggest one. And we don't have love. What we do have is me seriously reconsidering shopping here again." But Vanessa only stepped closer, tilting her head like a heroine in a ballad. Don't fight destiny, Adrian. Even the strawberries approve. Adrian took the basket, turned on his heel, and muttered, if fruit starts approving of things, I'm moving to the mountains. What Vanessa didn't know, what nobody seemed to notice, was that Adrian's heart already belonged to someone else, Tamara. Tamara didn't follow him around the market. She didn't hoard peaches or steal strawberries. She didn't summon a violinist from the shadows like some cursed spell. She simply lived her life, buying herbs, chatting with neighbors, laughing softly at things nobody else found funny. Tamara had no dramatic petals falling around her, no staged accidents. Just quiet presence. Adrian admired her from afar, though admiration wasn't the right word. It was steadier than that. Like the way the sun rose every morning without needing applause. Sometimes, when their paths crossed at the well or bakery, Tamara would offer him a polite smile. And that small, ordinary moment meant more to Adrian than all of Vanessa's grand declarations combined. Every time fate tried to push him toward Vanessa with another romantic coincidence, Adrian dug his heels in deeper. He wasn't going to be tricked by strawberries, peaches, petals, or persistent violinists. His heart had already chosen. And unlike Vanessa's imagined destiny, this choice was his. The town, however, had other plans. One morning, Adrian was minding his own business, balancing a basket of strawberries and peaches, when Vanessa staged what could only be described as an Olympic-level performance. She stumbled dramatically, arms flailing, and launched herself directly into Adrian's chest. Adrian's first thought, if she bruises my strawberries, I will never forgive this town. The crowd gasped as though the king himself had proposed marriage to a milkmaid. They're finally together, someone shrieked. A child dropped his bread roll in shock. An old woman clasped her hands and cried, at last. Love prevails. And, of course, the violinist popped out from behind a cart, bow already moving across strings in a passionate crescendo. But fate, or cruelty, decided to worsen things. Tamara walked by at that exact moment, catching sight of Adrian holding Vanessa. Adrian wanted to scream. He wanted to drop Vanessa like a sack of spoiled potatoes. He wanted to shout, I was attacked by romance clichés, send help. But Tamara only offered a polite, unreadable smile and continued walking. Vanessa looked smug, as though she had just conquered an empire. See? Even she approves, she whispered triumphantly, still clutching his tunic like her life depended on it. Adrian muttered, I need to move to another country. Preferably one without fruit markets. Or people. Finally, Adrian had enough. He marched to the center of the market, strawberries in one hand, peaches in the other, and stood on top of a crate. His voice rang out, sharper than the violinist's screeching bow. Listen, all of you. Fate isn't in charge here, I am. The crowd froze mid-bite, mid-whisper, mid-gossip. Even a dog carrying a baguette paused to listen. I don't care how many petals fall, how many violinists appear, or how many buckets conveniently get dropped next to mine. I'm not falling for Vanessa. The crowd gasped collectively, like a single giant lung's worth of scandal. A man fainted into a cabbage cart. I don't want destiny. Adrian continued, pointing a strawberry at the sky like a weapon. I want survival, wealth, and maybe, just maybe, a peaceful life with fewer dramatic interruptions. The violinist attempted a tragic tune but stopped when Adrian shot him a look so sharp it nearly snapped his bow. Vanessa, naturally, collapsed onto the cobblestones with a dramatic sigh. Oh no, his rejection is so strong, my heart, my knees, someone fetch me a fan. A group of teenagers clapped as if they were at a play. One shouted, encore. But Adrian was done. He jumped down from the crate, fruit basket in tow, and marched away with the determination of a man who had wrestled destiny to the ground and refused to sign its marriage contract. The crowd erupted in murmurs. Can love be refused? Surely fate will try again. Did he just choose wealth over romance? And Adrian, walking home, muttered to himself, yes. Yes, I did. And I'd do it again. He bit into a strawberry like a battle trophy, sweet and victorious, already planning how to turn his fruit trade into a fortune, preferably without Vanessa fainting in front of him every other day. Life went on, as it always did. Adrian traded fruits, saved coins, and ignored every single one of Vanessa's romantic coincidences. He had seen them all by now, tripping into his arms, dropping buckets at the well, even staging a fainting spell in the middle of the market fountain. Nothing worked. Adrian had grown immune. But fate, mischievous as ever, seemed to finally give up on Vanessa and start meddling elsewhere, namely, with Tamara. At the bakery, Adrian found himself arriving just as Tamara did, both of them reaching for the same loaf of bread. For once, the violinist appeared not for Vanessa but for them, striking a sweet, gentle tune. Adrian almost laughed. Fate was cheating on Vanessa with Tamara. At the well, their buckets bumped together, genuinely this time, no acting required. Tamara giggled, and Adrian found himself smiling without even trying. And one evening, he walked her home under a sky scattered with stars, both of them carrying baskets of fruit. No wind machines, no pedals, no staged falls. Just quiet steps and a soft conversation. For the first time, Adrian didn't feel like a character in someone else's bad play. He felt real. Vanessa, however, did not take it well. When she spotted Adrian laughing with Tamara near the herb stalls, she gasped so loudly people thought someone had been murdered. Throwing herself onto a bench, she cried, "Betrayal! After all the destiny we shared." The townsfolk, by now thoroughly invested in Adrian's love life, gathered around like spectators at an outdoor theater. Someone handed out slices of watermelon, and soon the entire square was munching and gossiping. "Ah, the plot twist," an old man said, juice dripping down his chin. Fate abandoned Vanessa and shifted to Tamara, a woman whispered, crunching on her watermelon seeds. "Shoo," said the baker. The hero is finally making his choice. Even the violinist had changed his tune, literally. He now followed Adrian and Tamara, playing soft romantic melodies, while Vanessa trailed behind dramatically like a tragic understudy who'd been cut from the lead role. "Oh cruel universe," she wailed, collapsing beside a barrel of pickles. "Why favor her when I have sacrificed so many peaches?" But the crowd only cheered for Adrian and Tamara. Some even tossed flower petals over them, ignoring Vanessa entirely. As weeks passed, Adrian noticed something remarkable: he was happy. Truly, simply happy. Fate might have twisted things in ways he didn't expect, but for once, he didn't mind. His work flourished, his coin pouch grew heavier, and with Tamara by his side, even if only as quiet companionship for now, life finally felt steady. Not scripted. Not forced. Just his choice, with fate lending a little nudge in the right direction. Adrian smiled to himself as he shared strawberries with Tamara under the market's shade while the townsfolk watched like it was the finale of their favorite play. And if Vanessa tried another dramatic feint nearby? Well, Adrian had learned to step aside.